Hi everyone, welcome to our latest video in the Head in the Cloud series hosted by Citrus Global. Here with me today is Enrico Foschi, who's a Director of Engineering at the OLX Group. It's a pleasure to have you here today, Enrico. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, pleasure to be here, Jack. So, hi all, I'm Enrico. I've been working in tech for the last, 17 years. I've been getting into leadership way too early when I was 20 and around, so I've been leading people for about 16 years,
Wow.
15 years, so going through a lot of challenges, a lot of learnings and mistakes. And learning is the new fancy word for basically things that didn't go so well, but I could treasure somehow in my experience. And I'm here today. I worked in Italy, in Ireland, in Germany, incorporating startups, finding my sweet spot in marketplaces and fast-growing companies. And today I'm here in OLX in Berlin, living in this wonderful city. And yeah, happy to be here.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, sounds like a bit of a journey there. And as you mentioned, Berlin is a wonderful city. This year it's been, well, a testing year for everyone, hasn't it, with COVID-19? How were you during lockdown? How did you find it all?
Well, it was a surprising experience for me and for my teams and for everything. As a lead, I always been spending a lot of time into building trust and relationship with my team. And I always find it a lot easier to do it with the personal relationship the physical face-to-face relationship. Yeah. And that there are all these small things like coffee breaks and little walks, always doing one-on-one by walking around the blocks, maybe over lunches or a little bit of sometime kind of couple of tea or beers after work. Yeah. And then when working with remote teams, still with a chance to travel there. And then when you travel, you also spend nights in these places as where you can get lucky and in a way that your teams can actually bring you out for dinner, and so you tend to bond also on a better level. And when creating this kind of relationship, working with the people around you, where you spend most of your life, it becomes a lot easier, and especially if you value human connection. Yeah. So obviously, COVID brought us this challenge where we kind of like are missing this, and we are still somehow failing to do the same thing virtually. I don't think it's entirely possible. So we're trying different things, but eventually there is a lot more effort and conscious effort that has to be put in to get back to the level of connection. So this is the biggest challenge, I would say. And the biggest part has been how to learn, has been in learning how to cope with this, how to still be able to build connection, especially for people like me that just joined the company, so being at the very beginning, and how to provide value and how to create a relationship with the people around you.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned there it's obviously been a learning curve for a lot of people. What would you say the main other lessons that you've learned, as well as what you've just mentioned there?
Well, I would say that the most important thing is that there is a big difference between working from home and remote culture, remote first culture. So I think that a lot of companies also, another lesson is that a lot of companies maybe thought that they were not ready and actually were underestimating themselves and a lot of people as well, because this situation pushed us to just work this way because it's either this way or not working. And we realized that actually is not as different and challenging and distant from what we were doing before. But the fallacy here is in thinking that this is just a work from home situation. There is a lot more things that need to be added to make this actually a remote first culture. Before, we had always every team had one or two people working remotely, and that was fine. When you have one or two people, it actually ends up improving the communication between teams. But when you have everybody working from home, to bring everybody together and not to rely on just standing up in your desk and walking to somebody else, that is a big challenge. So the learning curve has been how to actually be able to work together in this environment, how to be flexible with times, recognizing what is an asynchronous need and what is a synchronous need, and how treasurable, how important synchronous communication is, and where should be kept and where we should actually move on the asynchronous level, over Slack, over email, or something else. And all of these steps, and how to also keep the team somehow informally bonded together.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, it's been tough on everyone in some way, shape, or form. Businesses, individuals, obviously teams, as you mentioned there. What have been your biggest frustrations from all of those aspects?
Well, the frustration has been the fact that more than frustration, the challenge has been exactly the inability to walk to somebody that has a problem or that I feel has a problem and just say, hey, would you like to go for a walk? Hey, would you like to get a coffee? Hey, would you like to open up about a specific issue here? Or let's sit down and look at your screen.
Yeah.
It's there is still such a big difference in doing that physically than in doing it remotely. And, and it's mostly, I'm realizing that it's also about like the habits that you have. And it's also like you tend to develop these habits in different ways. So this part tends to be it was a challenge that I seem to have overcome in some ways, but the other one that is very difficult is the listening part, is the being able to perceive when somebody is in need of something.
Okay.
The more you go into managerial responsibilities, the more you transform yourself into somebody that instead of just receiving feedback ends up pulling feedback out of people, because people are not many times expressing their wishes, the needs, and the problems. And you tend to develop these abilities of just perceiving things around you, listening or looking at people, and realizing that there is something that needs to be just double checked there. And in remote settings, you don't have all this luxury. You have to, the communication is stripped down to the bare minimum of chat, of voice, and you lose all of these other method of communicating that we as humans have that actually allow us to better listen to each other.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree on that. It's much harder to read a situation, engage someone's honest thoughts virtually. It's much more of a challenge to do that, and whereas in person you're missing that social interaction. Yeah, I totally agree on that. I mean, if you could go back in time, would you in particular have done anything differently to prepare for it? If so, what?
Oh God, yeah, I think that an idea just coming up to my mind right now is simulating this scenario. So just having an experiment and say, okay, from randomly without preparation, from Monday we spent 2 weeks completely working from home. Everybody forced to be working from home, and after these 2 weeks, we have a retrospective, and we find out actually what we can improve and what went wrong and what went well. And this actually is something that I believe we're going to just apply now for other situations of emergencies and of unexpected scenarios. So for example, we may simulate, you can do this with security attacks. We simulate the fact that all of our data has been compromised. We can simulate the fact that access to our live servers has been compromised, and actually do it like in a brute force kind of way, like actually enable the issue and see how we deal with that. Of course, like with some backup plan and everything. That's the difference between simulation and real-time scenario. But if I could go back in time on January, December, November, I would say, okay, now next week, everybody in my team, was about 80, 100 people, just stay at home. We work from home in a 100% remote situation. It's going to be not pleasant for somebody. It's going to be pleasant for others. But then we can together, and then we collect all the feedback, and we find out how to make this experience something that we all find suitable for the way we want to work.
Okay. Interesting. So if you could go back, you'd have maybe done a bit of a trial run earlier prior to lockdown. Oh, okay. That, I suppose then at least you'd have had honest feedback and people would have experienced it, because like I personally, I'd never really worked from home. I'd never had that opportunity to, maybe the odd day here and there, but it was difficult for me because I'm a social person as well, and like interacting with people, and you sort of love to hate you love to hate your commute as well, and even that side of thing, just getting out of the house, did get a bit of like cabin fever, they call it, but yeah, I can understand that's good. So you'd have done a bit of a trial run prior to that. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is the fact that there is a big difference between people that live in remote settings in a very comfortable situation. Like, I'm a very social person as well, but in January I ended up moving to a very open space apartment. So it's a lot easier and comfortable for me to actually live here and work from here. I work and live with my girlfriend and so on. So that has been extremely, like, absolutely fantastic. But for other people, they could be in an apartment that they use just for sleeping, and while spending the rest of their life outside in Berlin in the nightlife or in their daily life or in interest and hobbies, and finding themselves to be alone at home in these places that may not treasure as a nest 24/7. These can actually have a big weight on them. So another thing that fits into the learning and the preparation ahead is making the teams humanly aware of everybody's situation.
Yeah.
And because this will also change a lot the way we perceive people from their intention, and the way we can actually understand also some emotional fluctuation without taking things personally, but be more, empathetic towards other people's situations.
Yeah, agreed. As a result of all that's happened, and now we're out of lockdown, hopefully the worst is behind us, and I think we'd be a lot more prepared should there be another spike or a big outbreak. What do you think is here to stay?
Well, what is here to stay is, first of all, the learning that anything may happen and may disrupt our workflow, so we should not really take anything for granted. The fact that I think that we all got a huge push for most of us into sorting out a lot of things in our lives during COVID, as in, like, now you are by yourself. So what do you really treasure about yourself, about your life? How can you make your life, your well-being, a little bit more controllable by yourself, rather than by all these little oxygen inputs that you get by office life and perks and everything else. So there is a lot of focus on introspection, and from a company point of view also there is a much bigger focus into the benefits of working from home. So these pushed a lot of companies into a taboo area or an uncomfortable zone that they don't want to deal with before. And now they're like realizing that, oh wait, it's actually pretty good. It's actually not really, of course, like, it's not about a matter of cost or not, because it's debatable when you do proper remote first, but it's actually something that makes some people work better, makes some team work better, makes some things more manageable. So why not having, instead of an office, a big co-working space, host more companies, book meeting rooms, book desks, and maybe we don't have to go back exactly as we were before. Maybe there is a learning here.
Definitely, yeah. Well, that's an interesting point. I suppose bring us on to the next question. I mean, what advice would you give to businesses moving forward? So you mentioned there about learning about potential office space or co-working spaces, and reducing office space. Is there anything else? Any other bits of advice that you'd like to share?
Yeah, well, definitely, I would say that, especially in tech, like, people are looking a lot more about how the company looks after their employees. And this is especially in tech, especially in this area where I'm living, where salaries are beyond already a bare minimum acceptable levels. There is what we almost, like, that people can be almost overpaid in some situation. We're talking about what really matters for an employee or for a possible candidate when apply for a company. What really matters is how would you handle a situation where I work from home? Would you help me set up a home office? Would you help me not give me the same perks? I mean, we're not talking about people expecting to have the coffee delivered to the door, but we're talking about, like, and we had people asking for this, but I'm talking about, would you deliver to my home an office chair that would actually be beneficial for my back? Would you help me understand what living with a proper economic setup means? We at OLX doing all of this, for example, plus some of the things could be also like sending from time to time little reminders of appreciation. Could be like masks, could be boxes with chocolates, could be anything, but also how do you allow me also to, for example, take holidays, work from home, work with the time, and be flexible about these things, and all this set of benefits that actually help people have a better setup with their own life, have a better way of managing their own well-being, is actually what people are looking for now. And I think it's fantastic. I think it's all for the improvement and the betterment of society, and at least on our sides, and that this is exactly what a business need to be looking for.
Yeah. Okay. So helping employees give them a better work-life balance and looking after their own, really.
Exactly. This is true empathetic leadership here.
Yeah, okay, that's good points. And I think you're absolutely right. As a result, a lot of businesses will be, I suppose, not well, maybe under pressure to do that, because in tech, I speak to people in IT roles in Germany every day, and I think you're absolutely spot on. People are going to look at those things, and if they're not looked after, or they don't feel worthy, or respected, or shown that empathy by their employer, then I suppose they are going to look elsewhere. Makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, interesting. Given the current situation and obviously all that's happened, how do you think like a modern talent partner should work?
I think it should be pretty aligned with exactly these as the main focus of what an employee can give to the company, of course, but what also the company can give back to the employee. I think that a great talent partner should be a coach in this kind of situation and the best mediator for this. So we had self-identified talent partner that ended up just sending loads of CV with very long emails about these great people they found, a great JavaScript developer, and she's great head of engineering, and she's amazing because of X, Y, Z, and so on. And to be honest, I received them probably a dozen a day, and they all end up either into my spam folder or just like my archived, and or people that even end up booking on your calendar without even asking you before. So there is a lot of aggressiveness, and I can understand it's driven by the competition, but what really always pays off is a talent partner that can engage really well with the candidates, and the candidates by understanding what their needs are, by understanding what they're looking for, and whether they could be a fit for the company or not.
Yeah.
B can actually coach back the company. I've been built some sort of like entry door or entry point in some sort of like humble way towards a director, towards a HR or anything else. And this, my recommendation would be try to offer something when you build it. Try to offer, but not talking about candidates, but offer like offer a lunch, offer just something that gives you 5 minutes chance to communicate, to open the door.
Yeah.
And then at this point, try to set yourself as the coach between the company and the candidate. What should the company do to actually get a candidate? So if the company goes for a talent acquisition partner, it's because the company needs external help into fulfilling a need that maybe they don't have time or they can't fulfill.
Yeah.
In this case, it's either them having to do something different or you having to do something that they can do. So a talent acquisition partner must help the company by providing what the company is not maybe ready yet to offer. So our companies are being a little bit conservative, still looking at salaries, still looking at benefits like vacation and so on. And these are key important things. But what really differentiates one company from the other is how well are you going to cut it? Are you going to think about me? Are you going to be able to help me achieve a great life balance? Are you going to be supporting me towards my wellness being journey? And with all of these things that happen during the past months, we know how important it is to be supported when working from home and when interacting with people, when building connections or keeping connections alive, and when solving conflicts and all of this kind of stuff. What is the kind of training you provide me? What is the kind of mentoring that is offered by the company? These are all the things that companies don't really offer, or sometimes they offer, but they don't even mention during the recruitment process. And it's really, really, really key, because it's about how well I will feel when I work with you and how well I will grow. And there is, of course, purpose that is a key thing, but also well-being and growth are the two key important things that people usually look for when you look for a job. So a talent acquisition partner needs to be able to understand what are these things that the company can offer. If they are not there, try to coach the company and help the company find the low-hanging fruit or the best way to offer this, and then connect the candidate and get the candidate excited about this offering, and then try to make the interview process kick off at that point. So there is a willingness for a company to invest on a human level on the candidate. There is an excitement from the candidate in understanding that there is an investment from the company. And at that point, the connection can happen.
Okay, yeah, understood. Appreciate that. Very honest and insightful answer there. Much appreciated. Well, I just want to thank you very much for your time, Enrico, for being a guest on the Head in the Cloud series and for sharing, your experiences, your insights, and I suppose advice moving forward. It's very much
Thank
appreciated.
you very much, Jack. I really appreciated having this kind of conversation. I really love these kind of like, I don't want to call it interviews, more like dialogues. And yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Thank you. You take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.